So we have started the recording. So now let me share. So where are we? Yes, I think this is where we stopped. Okay. So now I see. So if you remember, right? So last class, I know we have closed one more unit that is on the loads. Okay. So how to calculate wind load, that earthquake load. I just have shown you briefly. So if you are able to follow, like the basic things like you see the wind, how to find out K1, K2, K3, and even in earthquakes, you should be able to at least find out the base shear. Okay, that is Z by 2, I by R, that is SA by G. That is more or less sufficient for this course. So the detailed things you will learn in the other courses itself. Okay. So these questions I just asked as a checklist. Okay. So if you are able to know all these things, means you are doing fine. Okay. That's also we discussed in our last class. So then we moved to our next thing, that is a design philosophy. So like we have discussed about the material in the first unit. About steel we have discussed all the material properties, everything we have discussed about steel. Then we have discussed about loads also. So now the next one comes is the design philosophy. So how you are going to balance these two, or how you are going to design the section, that is a dimension. So this is what we were discussing. And then we said that of course the oldest method is working stress. Of course oldest is a different that is meaning, like it is a relative kind of a thing. What is old, that is a questionable. But anyway, and as per our textbooks or something, the oldest is this working stress. Then we have ultimate strength method, which was used in IS 800 1984, the old version of our IS code. Then the limit state design, so that is what the code right now does. And LRFD, so this is also known as load resistant factor design. So this word was coined by American codes. Okay, Euro codes follow LSD. So this is how this thing. And our Indian code, we follow Euro codes. Okay, maybe due to some reason or whatever. So this name has been adopted. Then we also have reliability based design, performance based design. I also told you there is a code which is coming up on this also. Tall buildings, people are doing nowadays in Bombay, Delhi. It's a mandatory for them. Resilience, so many things are there. So anyway, so as far as this course is concerned, these are sufficient. Okay. So this also I showed you. If you want to find out the ancient design philosophies, what's the design philosophy our ancient people are doing, not only in India, even in abroad also, like pyramids and others say. So there are load so much of textbooks and other things. People are working some PhD thesis, some research funds are government is also spending money. So you follow it, so you can download and you can understand also. It's a little interesting if you are oriented towards these type of things. You just go for these type of books also are available. Okay. So anyway, so now as far as the course is concerned, we do this working stress. I already told you last class. So assumptions are linear elastic, and I also told you the important thing. See, these methods, they have evolved basically based on the data. Okay, in olden days very little data was there, so things was confined to that much only. But now our understandings have improved. So now we have gone experiments are there. Now I told you, right, in 20-30 years back, doing experiment was very expensive. So if you want to do experiments in India, there may be some 5 or 6 places or something used to be there. But now you go to any college, anywhere, they have a nice experimental facility. The sensors have become cheap. So now lots of things have come. So now we have to use these data sets also in our design. So the working stress was done in the olden days, very little data. So linear elastic was assumption, and the permissible stresses. So this was the working stress should be less than the permissible stress, and whatever yield stress you have of the material, we divide by this factor of safety. So that is how this working stress method works. So I showed you also all these factors of safety. Then main limitation was as already I told you. So this method is very simple. They don't give too many details like creep, shrinkage, like stress concentrations say. Like whenever you have holes, like for the bolts we do holes in the the material. So what happens is, although linear elastic, if you say material is linear elastic, let us say I make a hole inside, okay, for bolts or something else. So what happens is you will be having stress concentrations also near this the edges. So the stress amplifies, that may go into plastic range. So many issues are there, residual stresses. So the it was not taken into details in working stress method, like how these things will influence the design values, all those issues. And another thing was different loads have different degrees of uncertainty. See, like live load may be having, you know, some uncertainty, dead load may have its own. So nowadays we are seeing, right, some Andhra, many places we are seeing a problem, like the building when it was constructed as a residential building. Suddenly, you know, after 10 years, 20 years, you know, to make money, he converted that building into a school building also. So you followed, right? So the design you have seen, no, that our IS 875 Part 2, you know, the values of live loads for this, for that, you know, they will be different. So, you know, so many things are there. So how to, so this, so each load will have a different degree of uncertainty. Dead load may not change, but live load may have more amount of uncertainty, or wind load or earthquake or whatever. So combination was a problem. So sometimes people found out that it, you know, it is unconservative. Okay, so for some special cases, but most of the cases it gives you conservative results only. This you know, the working stress method, and you know, because you know, and it's uneconomical. Large sections will come when you do as per this method. So if the sections are large, say, so serviceability will be better, but you know, it will be little bit uneconomical. So this was some, you know, issues with this you know, the working stress method. So like this, there are many points are there. I am just pointing out some 3 points. You can find out, okay, by reading the textbook. So now the next one, so which came is this ultimate load design, or this is also known as the plastic design actually. Okay, so this concept came somewhere, I think, around the 1960s or 1970s, as more data came, and then people also started understanding, you see, the plastic things and other things also. Okay, so the concept is very, very simple. Okay, and what the main thing here is, they define what we call as, you see, the load factor. Okay, so instead of you know, permissible stress, or instead of, so there we were you know, so we have a load, this one say, so they multiply the loads, not the strength of the material. So strength, yield strength, that is, you are not going to do any factor of safety. The factor of safety is applied on the load. Okay, working stress factor of safety is applied on the yield stress. Okay, that is the permissible stresses, but here it is other way around. Okay, so that is how this load factor is defined. So this load factor, say, is defined as, you know, the ratio between you see, the ultimate load to working load actually. Okay, so this is how the load factor has been defined, and the concept is, you know, very simple. I'll just you know, I will just explain you. So it is something like, the concept came like this. Okay, so we have already discussed the plastic thing. Just you know, if you take a simply supported beam, say, okay, subjected to some concentrated load. Okay, so now where the bending moment will be maximum? Center, that is below the load essentially. Okay, so the bending moment will be maximum. So where the stresses will be maximum, bending stresses, so wherever bending moment is maximum, the stresses also will be maximum. So if I take this point to say, okay, the point which is below the load, and if I draw the stress distribution, you all of you know, it is something you follow, right, like this. This is our stress distribution. Okay, so now what happens is, you know, the bending stress, say, as you keep on increasing the load, okay, 100, 200, 300, 400, like that. So what happens is, the top fibers, say, so the top fiber and the bottom fiber, what happens is, they will reach the yield strength, okay, Fy of the material they will reach, and slowly, you see, they plastify actually. Okay, so what happens is, you know, so they plastify. Okay, so this happens. So this is a plastification happens, you know, this place. So once the top fiber has plastified, say, but as you keep on increasing the load, then the fiber which is below the fiber, they will start, you know, exceeding the yield strength. They also will go towards yield, you know, this range itself. Slowly, 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 you follow, right? All the fibers becomes, you know, the completely plastic. So already I will discuss this one. Okay. Now what happens when everything becomes plastic, all the fibers, now what happens at that place? Now previously we have discussed, right, what happens. So full, everything has become plastic, say, what happens to this point? What forms at this point?
Plastic hinge.
Excellent. So finally, you see, plastic hinge forms. Okay, so once we discussed, right, plastic section, semi-compact, and other ones. So once plastic hinge forms, say, so we have defined, what do you mean by plastic hinge? Ordinary hinge means, what is zero at ordinary hinge?
Moment.
Movement.
Bending.
Not plastic hinge.
Constant movement.
Constant movement. Already we have seen plastic semi-compact. Okay, so it remains. So once a plastic hinge forms, that movement will be held for some time. It will, if it has a capacity, so like a plastic section, it will hold for some time, then it collapses. Suppose if it is that compact section or something, say it will just a plastic hinge forms, it leads to collapse itself. Okay, so this was the concept in plastic design. So now what this load factor say, whatever we are calculating it. So the load factor in ultimate design, so it is defined as this the ratio between the collapse load. Okay, so at where you have a plastic hinge. Okay, so the collapse load to working load. So this is how it is defined. Okay, the load factor. So now here, because it is a beam, right? So you can write this as W, the collapse load by working this load. So for since this is a beam, say the load factor. Okay, so anyway, the load is related. You can write in terms of bending moment also. The plastic moment. What is the bending moment at which everything has a plastified or something? Then we have this the movement actual. That is when the bending moment at your working the load itself. I will write this as my. Okay. So now from our simple bending formula, say all of right, m by I, that E by R, you followed, right, F by Y kind of a thing. So if I take this and this, say, okay, so I can write this as m into F into I by Y. What is I by Y? What is I by Y? Moment of inertia with Y.
Section modulus.
Excellent, section modulus. We already defined. Okay, you should never forget this word. Section modulus. So m, this you can write this as sorry, not m. This is I by Y. I'm very sorry. So this I by Y you followed, right? We call this as section modulus. So I can write m as some f into z actually. So this is my expression here. So now the load factor, say. So I have to write this as Fy, okay, multiplied by Zp, and then we have f into you followed, right, this elastic modulus actually. So this is our section modulus. Now for if it is a rectangular cross section, say, okay. So what is this for rectangular cross section? If the dimensions are something like you say B and D, say what is the section section modulus? Can anybody tell me what is the section modulus for elastic thing?
BD square by 6.
BD square. So this is D and this is B. Okay. So this is my origin, say. So if I take B by 2 or this one. So for rectangular cross section, so all of you know, right? So the BD square by how much? 6. The moment of inertia is BD cube by 12. Okay. So multiplied by, sorry, divided by H by 2, or sorry, the D by 2 comes. So automatically this comes actually. So this is my elastic modulus. Now what will be the plastic modulus? So plastic modulus, if I want to compute, say here, so I have you followed, right, this moment capacity or something you would have studied previously also. So what is the moment capacity? So we have a compression here, then we have a tension here. Okay, so since it is a rectangular and if you assume everything to be symmetric kind of thing, say, so I can write MP as, so everywhere it is Fy, the stress is Fy, area A1 into Y1 bar. Okay, so this is for the first one. So this is if I indicate this as Y1 bar. Now that is a centroidal distance or something. Then if I indicate this as you see the Y2 bar. Of course, if it is symmetric, then Y1, Y2, everything will be same. So plastic moments, say. So this becomes plus Fy. Okay, so just I will erase this one. Oh God. I don't know why it is not going. So Fy into you followed, right? So this A2 into Y2 bar we write, and since it is a rectangular cross section, say, okay. So A1, A2, everything will be symmetric kind of a thing, and Y1 bar the centroidal distance. Okay, so D by 2 means half of that one will be there. So finally we can write this plastic modulus, MP. So this is Fy into A by 2 Y1 bar plus say Fy A by 2 into Y2 bar, and finally say, so we can write this expression as MT is equal to Fy So you can plug a by 2 outside, you see, y1 bar plus y2 bar. Okay. So this entire expression we call as, you see, the plastic section modulus. Okay, Fy into some Zp. So this is the plastic section modulus. Now for our rectangular cross section, say, so I can write my Zp, say area is same. So you know BD by 2, that is a half, and y1 bar and y2 bar, they are all symmetric. So d by 4 plus a d by 4 kind of a thing. So we get, you see, BD square by 4. So this is the plastic section, you know, the modulus actually. This is how we compute. So now elastic section modulus, we know that is a BD square by 6 or something we have. So plastic section modulus is this one. So now if you compute our load factor, say, so it is something like this. So, you know, we have, you see, so Z. So the elastic section modulus is BD square by 6, plastic section modulus, say. So this is, you know, BD square by 4. So now my working whatever you followed, right? So this, you know, this load factor, if I try to compute, so which is F, that is load factor. So, you know, MP by My. So this will be, you see, Fy into Zp. Then we have, you know, F into, you see, Zd, the elastic modulus. So this quantity, say, so Fy by Y, F. Okay, this is our this thing multiplied by Zp by Zd. So this quantity, sometimes, you know, the ratio is known as, I see, a shape factor also. We will discuss this later also, okay, when it comes to beams. So you can write this expression as, you know, Fy by F multiplied by, you see, the shape factor also. So that is how we see we try to write. And now this quantity, say Fy by F, this also is known as factor of safety from working stress method. So in working stress method, Fy by F itself was a factor of safety in elastic design. Okay, in elastic design, that is the working stress method. So this method, what one does is you follow, right? Suppose if it is a tension member, say, what is F by F in for tension members in working stress method? How much percentage we have taken? You remember last class I just showed you also. So for a tension member, so what was this factor of safety? What was the factor of safety tension members? Can you see here this number? What was the factor of safety?
1.67.
1.67. If you write in terms of ratios, so working stress will be Fy by 1.67. So it is something around 0.66 times, you know, F of Y itself. Okay. So if you substitute that value here, say, so this turns out to be, you know, Fy by this one. If I restrict my this one to 0.66 times F of Y, so approximately for a tension member, multiplied by S. So this turns out to be, you see, 1.515 times, you know, some F of, you know, this S itself will be having. And then the shape factor, say, okay. So this shape factor, it varies actually. So for rectangular cross section, it is, you know, you have to take the ratio of this one. 1.5 is a shape factor. For I section, typically, if you take an I section, say, rectangle we have computed. So if you take I section, which is widely used in steel, right? So this shape factor is approximately something around, you know, 1.12 actually. So finally, if you multiply, so you will get this magic number 1.7. So this is the load factor, you see, which is used for, you know, this ultimate load, you know, this method itself. Suppose if it is a rectangular cross section, say, the safety, this even will be 1.5 or something, you will get several values. But in steel design, nobody uses rectangular cross sections. We always use I sections or, you know, some other, you know, the cross sections itself. So now in our ultimate, so this method, what happens is, you know, if you come back to the slides, okay. So if you see here, this one, so this 1.7 was given in our code book actually. So how come they got this 1.7? I showed you, right, the derivation, like, you know, Fy by Y you take multiplied by the shape factors. So they got this 1.7. So this value, so whatever dead load you find out, say, you do the dead load, you multiply by 1.7, you will get your, you know, the design load, or for which you have to do the design. Now dead load plus imposed load, it was 1.7. Dead load plus wind load, say, also it was 1.7. And if you have dead load, imposed wind or earthquake, say, the factors was 1.3 itself. So they arrived at these factors, and they were used in design in the older design, that is IS 800 1984 say. So this concept was there, the load factor. So now the definition of load factor is ultimate load towards the working load. So since you are taking the ultimate load, say, that is plastic hinges formed and the section is going to collapse, so that's why this word also came, plastic design, the method also. So this method is it is the working stress we are multiplying, or we are dividing the yield stress. But here, instead of working on the material, say, you have shifted your things to the load side. So this is how this 1.7 came into picture itself. So that is what load factor definition. Okay. So now so that's why plastic design also came into picture. So now this method also, the problem what happens is when the older codes IS 800 1984 if you want to use, right, so the people designed sections, what they found out was this method was giving more slender sections actually, because you are allowing, because you are taking into account even the plastic, you have gone plastic hinge, that the philosophy goes here, and they found out that it will give you economical designs also. Okay, but this method was particularly fine when use high strength steel and concrete, say, it was economical things was there, but strength was fine. But when it comes to serviceability, say, so these people found out that there are some problems actually with this this method itself. So what do you mean by serviceability? Yeah, so right, you would have done RCC course also. We have two words we will be using. So strength and serviceability means what? Now, serviceability is related to what are the things? When I say serviceability in concrete, also you would have done.
Crack width.
Crack width. Apart from that, generally the word serviceability is used for what? See, strength is related to stresses, safety, and other things will be there. Serviceability is related to what? Generally, when I say whether the structure is serviceable or whatever, if this word is, what other things are linked to serviceability? One is a crack width, you told. That is correct only. Apart from that, no.
Sir, deflection or vibration should not be.
Deflection, vibration, excellent. So serviceability is more related to comfort actually. Okay, so like you followed, right, if you are going in a just imagine a aeroplane, plane is fine, but once you are in the air, it starts a huge turbulence, huge vibrations will be there, but the plane is safe actually. But you followed, right, but if it is not more comfortable, say, then also you have a problem, say. See, because due to turbulence also, huge vibrations, although plane is safe, but people may get heart attacks, or you follow, right, something also. So the serviceability concept was not there in the olden days. It was only on safety, but now people are talking about comfort, how much deflection you follow, right? So this is also very, very important, and nowadays people want more comfort, their safety people are ignoring, but comfort has become more the important word itself. So like for example, I will tell you one incident, I think some conference somewhere we have met is humanities science people, right? They also more worried about serviceability, deflections, and others. See, the main objective in design, we say safety of the building. Okay, that is our design objective. But humanities sciences, psychology, they say the safety of the owner is more important. Okay, not the building. So that is how they define. And they say that, let us say you have constructed a building, say 10 stories. Okay, and let us say the owner stays in the 10th story, but building is perfectly fine. Suppose if serviceability requirements are not there, say, let us say an earthquake or wind occurs and it starts oscillating. So building is fine. It will be safe only. It may have some slight discomfort. But if the owner, by looking at the huge vibrations, say, if it jumps from the 10th floor in a panic kind of a thing, then but building is standing. But owner, the safety of owner, that comfort or something, if it jumps and this one, so then we have a problem. So people say that it's not only the strength, the comfort is a very, very the important thing. And nowadays this is becoming much more thing than strength itself. Okay, so anyway, so serviceability is a very, very important thing. But this ultimate load method, serviceability, there was some issues actually which they found out after the code was published and people started designing the structures. So this was the thing. So owing to excessive deflections they observed, and crack widths, service loads, there were so many issues was there. So that's why, you know, there were some problems with this method itself. And then although you followed, right, this method boasts that it is a plastic design, you know, we are taking the ratio, but finally what is that we are doing? What is the factor of safety you are using? Where you will, when the, you know, at the working load, say, what will be the stress level at the working load? Where your structure will be at the working load? See that load factor example I showed you, it was right, Fy by, you know, y multiplied by shear factor actually. What is that we have assumed now here? Fy by f, sorry. So what is that we have assumed f by f? I showed you, right? How did we get 1.7? How much f we have taken? The stress at working stress.
0.67.
0.66. So what does it mean? Although the method title says plastic design or whatever say, but finally, you know, this is inherently, you know, you are expecting the structure to be on linear elastic only. So that's what they said. Okay. So although you are multiplied by some other quantity, so this also one criticism was there on this method itself. So this only, you know, resulted in you followed, right, the new method, that is what we are calling as is a limit state design. Okay, so this method say the limit state design, this concept originated from you know, this reliability based design. Okay, so we have a, you know, reliability based design is there. So this is a new thing, not new, it is old only, but somewhere in 1970 1980s, you know, this method came into picture, reliability. There are textbooks are there, then reliability based design, we have a course also at our, you know, I think 6000 level course or 7000 level course we have, so where you will be taught is reliability based design also. So somewhere in 1970 1980s, you know, people started this data analysis, probability theory, they became very popular, this probability theory. Okay, so what happened was, you know, in those days, you know, people started working more on probability, uncertainties, you know, they became more aware. So these things came into picture. Slowly, you know, people started applying probability theory into practice also. So then, you know, this reliability, all these concepts came actually. Okay, so now uncertainty. So what people found out was, so if you take the material strength, say like for example for steel actual, okay, so I will take several specimens, 100 or 200 specimens, you know, the yield strength will be different for each and every specimen. And if I plot a histogram, you know, it looks something like this. Okay, so then if I normalize the histogram to 1, so then automatically I will get my probability, you know, the density function for my yield strength. So what people found out was there is uncertainty in even in the yield strength also. So and then you know, what people use is, you see, this characteristic strength, this concept was there. Okay, all of, you know, characteristic strength means, you know, so not more than 5% of the test specimens will fall. So this is a definition of the characteristic strength came. Now, similarly, when you look at the loads, say, so loads are also uncertain. The dead load, live load, whatever things are, they are also uncertain. So people collected all the data, say, and then you plot a histogram, and then you construct the probability density function. So you get, so this also is a random variable actually. So they found out that load is also random, strength is also random. Okay, the material property, that is also random. So strength, both of them you followed it as random variable, strength and load. Now, so they modeled as, you see, the random variable concept. That is a probability theory. It is not one number. You can have several, you know, the possibilities were there. And this characteristic load is also defined, you know, so which cannot be exceeded 95% of the time during the design life of a structure. So this is defined as a characteristic load. I hope all of you know, because you would have done the, you know, the RCC course itself. So now in the reliability, say, so what people does is, so we have on resistance, that is the strength is also uncertain, load is also uncertain. So both are random variables. So you can describe random variables through their probability density functions. So this is the mean value of the load. This is the mean value of the resistance itself. Okay. So what the thing is, so this is my load. Okay. And this is my resistance. So if this, so this resistance, say, or you can call as a followed. So if capacity is more than demand, okay, so this is my capacity and this is my demand here. So we say we will get a very safe actual. So which means, you know, the probability density functions, say, the whole resistances of all the samples at the density function will be much, you know, you followed it, larger than this. There is no overlap between capacity and demand kind of a thing. So then we will get perfectly safe kind of a thing. But if the margin increases, say the safety margin or whatever, the design becomes uneconomical. Okay, so this is a major you followed, right, issue. So now uneconomical and the design also becomes, you know, very, very complex. See, the wall size or the, you know, everything will increase because you are more safety is, you know, involved. So uneconomical designs came. So then this concept of reliability came was, you know, why you have to waste, you know, this economy also became very, very important, essentially for developing countries or whatever reasons. So they said, you know, so this is a load say, okay. So this is my, you followed, right, the resistance actual. So you can allow for some failures actually, okay. So this concept came up. So this is what, so when there is a overlap say, you will get, you know, because the load will be more than the resistance, so automatically there is a chance of you know, the failure itself. So this concept is same as in the wind code I told you, right, the risk, okay, risk, this insurance, all these concepts came up in those days. Okay, so what they say is, you know, no need to do, you take some risk, okay, but you insure that you know, risk through a some kind of insurance policy. So that was the concept came. Okay, so you can't design a building which is 100% safe, so you take some risk and then you cover with these insurance companies itself. So this is what the concept came, that is, you know, people define this as reliability index, that is a beta. Okay, so reliability index. So this concept came, that is this beta, which is defined as R minus Q. R is resistance, that is a strength, and Q is the load. So this is a new random variable. Okay, so this you know, this is the density function of the that R minus Q. So this is unsafe region and this is safe region itself. Okay, so for this one, so the beta is defined as a ratio, you know, of this mean versus, you see, the standard deviation of this quantity, and the physical meaning of beta is defined like this: beta times sigma. As beta is more safe, what is your comment? The design will be safe or unsafe if beta is more? Beta increases. So look at this graph and tell me, beta is more, what happens? Now look at that graph and tell me, beta is more. Suppose beta is 10 and beta is 1. What happens to this density? See, people are there. What is this beta tells us? People are there. So what is this beta tells us?
Sir, I think beta tells that the spread is more. If we have more beta, then we have more spread.
No, beta is a constant. Okay, spread is governed by sigma. You followed. So sigma is the standard deviation. If sigma is more, then the spread is more. Beta is just this width, that's all only. So your distribution is governed by mu and sigma only. Okay, these are the only two things only. But when you do this beta, say, what happens if you take 10 times, you know, so the distribution, you know, it comes like this. So beta is very, very large, say, so your density function will be like this. So beta is very small, say, density function shape is same because sigma and this is same. So you will have, you know, like this. So beta is more, so what happens, this whole pink curve moves towards your right hand side. So if it is moving towards your right hand side, say, so the design will be much more safe. If beta is very, 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 very low, say, then you know, you are going towards the left hand side and you know, it will be unsafe itself. Okay, so beta is a constant. It is not the spread. Spread is governed by mu and sigma only. Okay, the ratio is we are calling as beta itself. Okay. So you can see here, I'm showing you this graph itself. You can see here. Yeah. So beta times sigma, so same thing, distribution only. You can see here beta is a constant. So now if I multiply, sigma is a spread. Okay. So this curve you followed, right? So if beta is large, this one, so automatically, you know, this goes away like this itself. And here, say, this area under this curve towards the right hand side or whatever. So this gives me probability of failure. We will not go into the details, okay, just some technical words I'm using here. So these is what they call as, you see, the failure probability itself. So there is a charts are there, okay. And like you can see now, I think this may be, you will be able to follow. So like for example, as beta is 5.6, what is the failure probability? Now for this has been done for normal distribution. Okay. From all this thing. Now what is the probability of failure?
10 to the power minus 8.
So that means where is your density function? So the density function is like this. Okay, so the small area is 10 to the power of minus 8. Suppose the beta is a 2.32. So what is the probability of failure? So the function will be like this. So the small area, say, how much is the area now?
0.01.
10 to the power of minus 2. So now the design philosophy is like this. So now I will select 4.75, say. Now what happens? What is how much risk you are taking?
10 to the power minus 6.
Minus 2. So that means, if I increase my beta, what your risk is becoming?
Lesser.
Less. So if risk is less, what happens? The building is more safe. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But if building is more safe, what is the problem?
Cost link.
Its design becomes uneconomical. So your wall size will increase, column size will increase, and let us say the design life of a building is 50 years, say, and let us say you have designed for 10 or something beta value, probability of risk is almost 0. And let us say in these 50 years, no earthquake occurs, no wind also occurs. Now what happens? The whole money you followed, right, is gone actually. So you may do, you may not, you will not take any risk. But suppose if nothing happens in the lifetime of a building, that is also waste of money itself. So what people do is, this is a concept. Let us say I choose my 3.72. I will do the design. So if I'm choosing for 3.72, my risk level is 10 to the power of minus 4. So how do I cover this risk? Now, how do I cover this risk? I know that I have taken a risk. How to cover the risk with? Now, how to cover the risk with what policy?
Insurance.
Insurance policy.
Insurance.
Yes. So like, one person designs for 5.61. I design for 2.32. So both of them will go to insurance company and then say that you insure my building for 1 crore, say. Whose premium will be more? Mine or other person?
2.32%.
2.30, because I am taking very little, large risk I am taking. So my premium will be 1 lakh. This person, say, who has taken 10 to the power minus 8 risk, his premium will be very small, some 10,000 maybe, the company may ask. So this concept came in our design somewhere around 1980s or 1970. So many papers got published and, many things came. So now, so our limit state design, you followed it, more or less based on this concept only, but they have done some small, the changes. See, nowadays what happens is, if I tell these random variables, uncertainties, and all those things, many, the person who is designing the, a steel structure in the field, he would have not even done a course on probability also. They may not understand random variables. If you tell reliability, if you tell probability of failure, you follow it, it is very, very difficult for the, the practicing engineers who are really at the field. See, you may understand, I may understand, but the person who is really doing a design, say, he may be a diploma background also. He would have not even done a course on this one. He may not understand all these things. And if you do like this, already, it may lead to more confusions also. So what the courts, what they did was, due to practical reasons and so many other issues was there. So they simplified this reliability based design into some simple, the numbers itself. So that is what we call as is the limit state design actually. Okay. So this is how this word came up, but the concept is same. Uncertainties in load, uncertainties in, the resistance also. So what we understood is, so you have uncertainty in load, you have uncertainty in the material property also. Working stress method, you are doing uncertainty only in the material. Ultimate design method, you are taking uncertainty in the loads actually. But now the understanding is you have to do some kind of a factors on both the things, on even the capacity, even the load also, even on the resistance also. So this concept came. So that is what we call as the limit state design actually. Okay. So here what to do is, this is the capacity of my building. So I will use another factor of safety for this one also to decrease my design resistance. And this is my working load, say. I will apply one more factor of safety. I will apply my design load itself. So my design load is here, design resistance is here. So two factors of safety, you see, we are applying. So the factor of safety is applied on load, on resistance also, both actually. In previous method, factor of safety was only on load. In ultimate design, This was there in working stress method. So both this arised into picture because uncertainties are there. So this is what they say. And another thing also, as already I told you, right, nowadays serviceability is also very important in the comfort, not the safety, unfortunately. Okay, so now this code said you followed, right, safety also they will consider, then serviceability also at working load. So it should be more comfortable kind of a thing also they brought in those objectives. So here we will have multiple safety factors, okay, not one kind of a thing. And here the code also says, for dead load, some other factor of safety, for wind load, some other factor of safety. All those concepts they brought in this limit state design. So finally, so they define what they call as a limit state. Okay, now what is exactly limit state? So this is a definition. I'm not limit state, limit state. Okay, now what is the mention? So limit state is defined like this. So it is to summarize this definition, limit state is essentially failure only. So instead of calling as failure, say, we call as limit state design, limit state kind of a thing, which is nice, the word itself. So they say a limit state is a state of impending failure only. So beyond which a structure ceases to perform its intended function satisfactorily in terms of either safety or the serviceability also. So it either collapses or becomes unserviceable itself. So this is a definition of limit state. To summarize, limit state is essentially failure itself. Okay. So and then our code gives on two factors. One is on material strength also. Another one is on gamma L, that is on the load also. So this is how we do. So resistance we have. So we have one factor of safety. Load also we have another factor of safety. And then this factor of safety for loads also is different. Dead load is different, live load is different, because uncertainties associated with dead load are different. Uncertainty of live load is different. Uncertainty of the wind load is also different itself. So the code says like, and these are clearly the code defines what do you mean by ultimate safety limit state and what is serviceability limit state. So two things they define. Okay. So safety is like strength. Okay. Limit state. So loss of strength, then loss of stability against overturning and sway, then failure due to excessive deformation or rupture, then fatigue failure, brittle failure. So all these things comes under strength criteria or the safety, the criteria. Then serviceability set, their code clearly defines deformation, deflection, then vibration, it comes under serviceability, then repairable damage due to fatigue, cracking, then corrosion, durability, fire, all these things comes under serviceability. So two limit states, the code has clearly defined what is the safety, what is serviceability. Okay, because both of them are very important. In the older codes, we didn't have this type of a nice definitions was not there in the older codes. So I am just showing you from our IS 800. You can see clause 5.2.2.1. I just copied the code itself. They have clearly mentioned limit state of strength. Okay. So whatever I showed you in that table, they have clearly the wordings are like this. So loss of equilibrium of the structure as a whole or any of its parts, then loss of stability, then failure by excessive deformation, rupture of the structure, fatigue, and brittle fracture. So these are the words used in the code book. Then serviceability means deformation, deflection, adversely affect the appearance of the structure, then vibrations, then repairable damage, corrosion, durability, fire. So this comes under serviceability. Clearly the code the specifies. So 5 points here, 5 points in the serviceability also. So and then they will give you this factors, multiple factors of safety. Action is nothing but load only. Okay, the design load says. So we have a partial safety factors, and clearly it mentions what the safety factor comes for. So unfavorable deviation of the load from the characteristic value or inaccurate assessment of the load, then uncertainty in the assessment of effects of the load, then uncertainty in the effect of limit states also. So this gamma FK say. So this it models all these things itself. Now similarly, when it comes to the strength say, so this is my factor of safety. Okay, the ultimate versus this gamma M. So gamma M also clearly the code specifies. So I suggest all of you to read these words once actual. Okay, so unfavorable deviation of material strength from the characteristic value, unfavorable variation of member sizes, then unfavorable reduction in the member strength, and then calculation of strength of the member. So this models all these things. So in the now IS 800, it spells clearly like gamma. Whenever you are using a factor of safety, say what does that factor of safety indicates, or what you are essentially handling through that magic number itself. So clearly they define all these terminology also. And this is the table which all of you will be using for design. It is available in IS 800 only. I have cut paste the table only. So they have two states: strength, serviceability, and these are the factors of safety, the load factor or whatever you can say. So now if you are having a combination, say dead load plus live load plus crane load, okay, so dead load factor of safety is 1.5. Live load, if it is leading, say it defines 1.5, accompanying means is 1.05. so this is one combination. If I have dead load, live load, crane load plus wind load, earthquake load, say, so I have 1.2, 1.2, 1.04. For wind load or earthquake load, it is a 0.6. So they give different factors of safety. In the ultimate the design, factor of safety was 1.7 for all the loads. But now you have different because uncertainty in dead load is different, uncertainty in live load is different, uncertainty in wind load is also different. So these multiples, the factor of safety is the code provides. So and then code also says you have to do check limit state of strength. You have to do for this combination. Apart from that, you also have to do serviceability also, because the deflections and that our comfort is also very important. So for this also they will give you another factors of safety. One, you can see they are entirely different. For the same level, serviceability factors are different, strength factors are different itself. So all these things you have to consider. So you have to design as per this, and you have to design as per serviceability also, and you have to check all these the details itself. And this is a factor of safety for the materials. Okay, so this also for resistance say, okay, for yielding the factor of safety is 1.1. then buckling say 1.1. so then ultimate stress 1.25. then for connections, okay, bolts will have 1.25 for shop fabrication. If you are manufacturing in the field, say the bolt 1.25. so welds, rivets and others, they give all these factors of safety itself. So you have factors of safety for load, factor of safety for the material also. Okay, and then the code also says these are the deflection limits, because serviceability you have to verify also. So if I have a or an industrial building say, okay, so if my load is live load or wind load, purlins and this one say, so it says the maximum deflection should not exceed span by 150. Okay, that is these are how you have to check. So like live load is there, say other building floor and roof span by 300. so this is the limits. So these limits are as per our comfort levels or something. So you have to check. So what you so in design, what you have to do, so you do design as per limit state of strength, and you also check the serviceability by using these factors of safety also. Then these factors of safety you have to use for the material. Then finally you have to check these deflections also. This also is our criteria. Okay, so this is how this limit state design came into picture itself. And these numbers say whatever you are seeing 1.5, 1.2, 1.05. so these numbers have come from that reliability, that concepts, that uncertainty modeling. People have done a lot of studies, I think, lot of experiments, and they have done the histograms, probability, densities, and so many things. From that, these numbers have been arrived actually. Okay, so that is how these numbers have. So reliability, I think these numbers also may have some reliability index. It is not mentioned in the code. Maybe if you dig Euro codes and others, we may get exactly the probability of failures associated with this numbers itself. Fine. So this is a basic philosophy which is in our the IS code also. Okay. So before we do this one, I just wanted to show on our IS code say. Okay. So our IS code, what it says is it is based on limit state design only. But in our code also they have mentioned section 11. Okay. If you go to this section 11 in the IS 800 say, there is working stress method also is there. So our code says limit state design, because so many things you may have to do. So the old many people they like working stress, because you have to do very simple, just only one factor of safety they should be able to do. So our code says you can use working stress method also, as well as limit state design also. So some problems maybe their limit state may be difficult, so then they say you have to go with this working stress itself. So in our code book you have both limit state, working stress, but there is no ultimate design in the IS 800 2007 volume itself. Okay, so fine. So with this, I think we have almost completed our this unit also on the design philosophy. So this is our checklist. Okay. So now what is the characteristic strength?
Strength that it's 5% of the total
Specimens should fall. Okay.
should fail.
What is characteristic load?
Load at
Hmm.
0.67 stress.
No, be careful. Characteristic load. This word itself is a special word. Characteristic means
It
so
should not exceed
it should not
95% of
exceed
95% of load.
95%. Be careful. This is 95%. This is
5%.
because this way, that way. Okay. And now what is the plastic section modulus? No, plastic section we defined, right? For rectangle I showed you. What is the plastic section modulus? How do you compute? See what happens. Plastic section modulus means what is the stress levels? So this is elastic. Okay. Plastic section modulus, what happens? How the stress distribution looks like?
Square, rectangle.
It is a square. So it is a plastic movement capacity. You would have studied also. Okay. So this, if you find out the section modulus, say, so this we call as you followed, right? So for triangle, elastic means like this. You will have a triangular distribution, but plastic means rectangular distribution. That's why that BD square by 6, BD square by 4, that will be different. Now what is shape factor? What is shape factor? I told you, maybe what is the shape factor defined? It's a ratio of what to what. It is linked to the previous question only.
Plastic by elastic.
That's all. Section 1. That's all. We will discuss this in great detail also. Okay, after some time. But right now, if you know this thing, that is happy. Now, what is load factor? LF. Now, how to compute load factor?
Ultimate load upon working load.
Ultimate load upon working load. Perfectly fine. How do you compute this one? Load factor. I just showed you, right? What is the philosophy? How to compute load factors? You have to multiply two things. Now, what are these two things?
Factor of safety and shape factor.
Excellent. Factor of safety versus shape factor. Perfect. Okay. And now define permissible stress. In working stress method, how much stresses are permissible? For tension members, approximately.
0.67.
0.61. But now for compression member, 1 by 1.92. You remember? For connection set, I think 2.5, 1 by 2.5 to 3, something like that. It happens. Excellent. Now, what is serviceability?
State at which it is more, deflections and vibrations are less than.
Perfect. Okay. Serviceability means just remember comfort actually. Okay. So of course our code limit state serviceability, it has defined nicely the clauses. What is the serviceability? Clearly it has specified. General definition means comfort. Now what is limit state?
Design state where it is serviceable and
serviceable.
does not break down.
No, design state at which?
At which failure happens either through first failure happens either through serviceability or through load failure.
So limit state essentially means failure only. It is not neither safe, neither serviceable. Both, of course, as you told, the first kind of a thing. Now, what is limit state of strength? Maybe you have to go through these clauses. Okay, this is our IS code. Clearly, it has specified. So all of you should be able to follow laws of equilibrium or this chart: strength, stability, failure, fracture, brittle fracture. Okay, serviceability means these are the 5 points they give. So these 5 points should be in your the mind when somebody asks you limit state and this one. So you can just the go through. Okay. So if you have understood these things, so it means you have understood the design philosophy. Of course, there are so many things are there, but at least this will be fine. So design philosophy will be done. Okay. So I will stop here. So next class, we will move towards you followed, right? The bolts. That is our next the unit itself. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. So I will stop recording.